The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to Oaa Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Taramina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blogger inside the OAA, one of the hosts between Termina's and Orion Neighborhood Television. Like to welcome those watching on ONTV, YouTube, and also on SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
I got Ian here. Of course, we're going to break down Media Day.
Yeah, Media Day. Always an exciting time of year when Media Day rolls around, right, Sam?
Mm-hmm. ONTV cameras were there.
Yep, as was you.
As was me.
And I think it's a fantastic event to have. You know, it's really neat to see all the coaches together, bring the media in, and get it all done in one shot. Your thoughts? I mean, you've been covering for what, 5 years now?
5 years now. I mean, here at ONTV, we do a very nice job. We're the only camera person in there.
We were?
We were the only camera person that had
How
a
about
big
that?
camera in there. Yes.
How about that?
And I talked to Eric Vernon, who is the head coach at Rochester High School, afterwards, and he really appreciates how we, as a group, do this for the OA.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think there's a lot of good information out there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's for us, it's fun.
Uh-huh.
You, a volunteer here at ONTV, and myself, a staff member.
Yep.
You know, we love working with you guys, and you have a passion,
Mm-hmm.
and we enjoy that passion immensely. I mean, you've been with us how long now, Sam?
Probably around
6 years, 7 years?
I think since 11, 7 years.
7 years. So in that time, I know you've educated me
Uh-huh.
on all things OAA.
Yep.
I never thought I'd be sitting opposite you at a
Opposite
table
me
with a microphone talking about this
High
stuff.
school sports.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. And one thing, your enthusiasm for all things OAA got me interested and enthusiastic about all things OAA. And it brings us to where we are now, where, you know, we do our best to make your passion a reality beyond just your print blogs and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And the great thing now is we have Media Day to help
Media Day helps
expand
a
that
lot,
coverage.
and it also gives people out there who don't get a lot of recognition some recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to see other sports hold their media days just like football. I mean,
Well,
football's the big dog,
Right.
Right.
But basketball would be a perfect example.
It'd be perfect to
It would be
have that sort of
perfect,
thing.
You know. So, but I want to talk about the experience of Media Day.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we had the coaches talk. You know, they had the players introduce themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. An interesting couple of people that I thought had really nice press conferences. A couple of them I thought were just questions. You know, I had a ton of questions thinking about it. I mean, now we're gonna share this with the special OA Media Day football previews coming up next week.
Yes.
And
Yeah, if a lot of you, our listeners and viewers, don't know, Sam puts together a show. It's the video side of this podcast, right?
Yep.
So it's OA Now, and with the cameras from our staff and Sam out there doing the interviews and doing all the legwork, putting all this information together, he hosts 3 one-hour shows on each division in the football.
Yep.
Right? And help me if I should know this by now, but we release them once a week. Leading up to the kickoff of the opening of the season, correct?
Yes. Of course, then you have the blue, the white, and the red.
Yes.
So, and I will also have the link on YouTube on my blog at Inside the OAA. So if you guys want to watch that as well.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
And also be on SoundCloud this year.
Yeah, we're going to put everything up there. I mean, this is just kind of a teaser for that. You know,
It is.
We could be here for hours
We
going
could be here
over
for hours
and talking
going and
about
over
it.
talk about this. Yes.
But we only have 60 minutes.
Yes.
So.
I mean, of course, a lot of people know that I always do like a projection with a couple media guys. Of course, we had Scott Bernstein. We have Keith Dunlap. We have Anthony Termina. We also have Dan Stickrat. This year, we're planning on having Ian Locke do his picks this year.
Oh, great.
You know, so a lot of pickers this year. So for football games this year. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. And it makes it fun. It makes every week mean something, at least to the pickers anyway.
It does.
But let's get back to Media Day. It's an awesome thing. Like you were saying, some of the coaches will go, some of the things they say. But I from a media standpoint, being in the media and have been for 20 some odd years, is that I think it's a great event to give the players a chance and the coaches a chance to stand up, say their piece, just like the
Yep.
college guys, the NFL guys, the big dogs. They get to do a little press
It does.
conference.
It does. I mean,
Gives them
like,
experience. It
it
gives
does.
them a
And
chance
it does.
to
And Rochester
experience
does a
that.
great job putting it
Oh, they
down.
did, yeah.
I mean, you got to look at a lot of these teams. You have the Catholic League that's doing it now. You have the
Ah,
Lakes Valley that does it. You have you have a lot of these other conferences that do media day. And even the Macomb area conference that do media
yeah,
day. So very interesting thought process.
yeah.
That you look at, and of course you see the players in their uniforms
Yep.
and all that, except for Harrison, who was wearing shirt and tie, and Seaholm was wearing polos that day.
Okay.
But you see the teams in their uniforms, you kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
And that goes to my uniform question too. That's one of the reasons why I write the blog about the uniforms.
Yeah, back to the uniforms.
Yep.
Well, you love the fashion of football. I know that.
Oh, I do.
The styles, the helmet designs, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of cool because there's been multiple media days where they've debuted new
Uniforms.
jerseys
Just
and the
this
look.
year,
Yeah.
just this year, North Farmington debuted new uniforms.
Okay.
Lake Orion going back to a old classic look back
Okay.
from their 2012
And did
road
they have
years.
those on last Friday?
They had the 2013 look on Friday. Yes.
Okay.
So,
So it kind of gets the fans excited. I'm glad our cameras are there so everybody who's into that sort of thing can see that.
yeah, but the only negative about it, there was a lot of swear words in there.
Really?
There were about 4 of them.
Really?
Of them.
Really? So
You'll see it during the media day. I know one certain football coach does.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one I was kind of shocked, but
Okay.
either way,
But I think it's a decent event. One thing, it gets you excited, and I'm glad we're able to go record these interviews, or at least the statements from the coaches, and then the teams that hang around afterwards to make their way down Media Row to have a brief interview with the
the
reporters
coaches, yeah.
and things. It's
you know
really
what's
kind of cool.
interesting? You know what's interesting? This media day, a lot of coaches were praising Coach John Harrington.
Well, of course,
It
his
was his last year.
one. Yeah.
It's his last one, and and I feel bad for that guy. I really feel bad for him.
Well,
you know what I mean?
it's a loss for the OAA. I mean,
is.
you lose a legend like that due to the program, the program shutting down. I wouldn't predict that he would be picked up by another organization. I don't know if he would even entertain the idea of coaching another team. I don't know, but just say, hey, this might be it for the legend. Huge shadow.
I know. It'd
And
be a huge loss.
shoes to fill, and just an iconic figure in the OAA to just
It is.
say goodbye to.
It really is. It is unfortunate that that it is John Harrington's last media
Yeah.
day, and it was really, really sad to see that.
And if those of you listening might not know, he's the only football coach Harrison has had. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
I heard that from Joe Johnson the
That
other
is
day.
correct. He is the only football coach
They've
Harrison's
ever had.
ever had.
And what a coach and what a legacy.
He's won the 13 state championships.
Crazy.
I
I mean, yeah, that's wild.
It is.
The amount of games. I mean, it's just amazing.
The teams that when I look at, of course, it was very interesting how they had it up. They had food there. It was really you got to talk to some coaches beforehand.
Okay.
I talked to some coach beforehand, not off camera. Teams are looking forward to their year. Bloomfield Hills. I talked to Dan Laurie before it started. I know that he's having a lot of losses. Of course, remember he lost his quarterback and his best defensive end to graduation, his best wide receiver.
Yeah.
So Bloomfield Hills could be in for a rough year. But they did have some hope and optimism.
Mhm.
A lot of these coaches I know had some hope and optimism. Probably if there was one coach that I thought would have the best optimism, the biggest optimism,
Yeah.
it's at Oxford. And Bud Riley's always a character at media day. I mean,
That's an understatement.
I
Sam.
mean, like, you want to see a guy who is energetic and crazy during media day. This is it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He speaks his mind.
He
and
does.
it's a lot of fun.
He does.
Wouldn't it be fun just to sit down, like have him in and just talk about football? I mean, he's the kind of coach that knows so much about football and has so many experiences that you could just sit down and listen to talk for hours.
That would be
You know what I mean?
insane.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I know the good folks at OCTV would love to have Bud Riley.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Of course, when we had Bud Riley, we interviewed him. I mean, like, he always. I ask him one question.
Yes.
I ask him one question. His expectations.
Yes.
You know what he says? Win.
Well, yeah.
But when I look at the stats of Oxford, their defense, ever since they came into the OAA, they've allowed over 200 points.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
It is. It can be. I mean, it's a different beast down here.
Yeah, they were in the Metro,
Yep.
and they were doing very well in that league.
Yes.
And then coming up the OAA, it's like, okay, but you're giving up 200 points. The pound of rock scheme, and I mean,
Yeah.
It does work. It does work, but Bud Riley during media day is a character. He is a character.
He is. He's fun to watch, fun to listen to. I saw a little bit of the highlights of him on the podium giving his statement about the team, and he was all over the place, man. I mean, he was energetic, lively. He was waving his arms around, like really getting into it. It's almost like he's giving a pep talk to his team before they ran out of the field. You can see he's really gearing up for the season.
He is. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the energy I think a lot of coaches do possess. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you see
yes.
it during media day, and then
motivate. Can they motivate? Are they solid motivators?
Another coach I was really impressed with was Brendan Flaherty at Groves.
Okay.
He said it best, that the OAA should get a lot of these teams get in the Ford Field, make sure that they hold Ford Field, as the king of the OAA, which I think it has been the last couple of years,
Well, they've sent somebody. I mean, there's always somebody from the OAA kind of
Last year
threatening.
they sent three.
Yeah, and 2 in the finals of
two in the-
D1.
Two in the final D1
That's
and then
crazy.
1 in the final D3.
Yeah.
So when you look at the OAA, this is a conference where I think it could be a very unique. It's going to be a unique situation how it's going to feel heading into the year.
Yeah, I think so too. And not to throw you off track here, but the voice of Dragon football, Doug Corliss, just walked into the studio.
Yes, he did.
Should we allow him to put the headphones on and maybe we just had media day last Friday and we're just talking about football. And let's see what mic you're on. You're on number 3. So welcome, Doug. This is your first time in the studio, and we are recording. So this is not just us rapping and having a good time this morning. We're having a good time, but we are recording. So welcome to the ONTV podcast studio, the voice of Dragon football on ONTV, Doug Corliss.
It is exciting to be here this morning.
It is.
See, he just voted. He's got a sticker on, just like I hope
so did I. I just voted.
I
too.
voted as well. So
It's just one of these things you stumble into.
he probably wasn't expecting me to wave him in. So basically, what we're doing was just chatting about media day and the upcoming football season, and we're talking about Harrington, last go round, and Bud Raleigh, the ultimate enthusiasm on the podium we saw last Friday. And, like Sammy, we were talking last week, too, on the podcast about does Pound the Rock, because he asked me who I'm looking at. And I said, I always like watching Oxford because it's the old school way of doing things. And I just keep an eye on it because that's something I understand. It's something I know, I grew up with. And is it still viable in the OA these days? And he's there with the enthusiasm. You're like, yeah, I'll run through a wall for Coach Bud. So what are your thoughts on Oxford?
Well, Bud is the ultimate old school football.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, anybody who's come close to the game, if you open up a box and pull out the old school football coach, you pull out Bud Raleigh.
That's true.
You do. Yes,
That's
you do.
True.
And all that being said, yes, there's still a place for Pound the Rock.
Yeah.
And all that being said, if you got the horses.
Yeah. That's what Sammy was saying last
Are
week.
you sure though? Considering now, with all these teams have virtually changed their offense. You look at a team like West Bloomfield is more of a spread. Lake Orion can run multiple.
Yeah.
Adams, we know the Veer. I mean, like, are you sure? I mean, like, are you sure it's viable right now?
Well, if you remember back a few years ago when Oxford had Glacier Wallington as
Yes.
a quarterback, he was a 3 or 4 year starter.
Yeah.
He was a dual threat.
He was a dual threat. He
And
could
brutal.
run, he could
Yeah,
throw.
he was tough.
Sure. And if you've got that kind of a threat, now they also had the time where they had
Prescott line.
Prescott
Oh, gosh.
line,
Yep.
Zach
The brothers. Yeah.
the brothers, yeah. Then they could really pound the rock.
Yeah.
And so if you look back when they had those kind of players, when they had the big bruising
Yes.
backs, they didn't have the dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
They
No.
had to hand the ball off, manage the game type of quarterback.
Yep.
When they had the Glacier Wallington, who was the dual threat, could
Yep.
throw really good, they didn't have the big bruising running back.
Correct.
So it all depends.
And I think that threw a lot of the
It
opponents
did. It
off
threw
because
a
they're
lot of 'em
expecting
off.
put them all in the box, and all of a sudden they can throw
it
it
threw a lot of them
downfield.
off. I mean, like, now when you look at, I'm looking at the media day from Oxford, and Bud Riley wrote some very interesting stuff. He said it's a wait and see season, question marks entering the season, many questions to answer. So that tells
Transition
me,
year, possibly.
well, they were a young team last year.
Okay.
They're converting some players to different positions.
Okay.
They're converting Drew Carpenter. He was a wide receiver last year.
Okay.
He's gonna be a quarterback now.
Mm.
And then you look at others, they really don't have that true receiving threat. And then of course they're gonna rely a lot on a guy who was not on here in Trenton Murray, who's gonna be their starting running back.
Okay.
So that's a question that for Oxford, I think that's a ton of questions there. I want to get Coach GC's thoughts on Clarkston. Of course, that's a team that I'm curious to have his thoughts.
we were talking about Clarkston starting last week, going,
Yeah,
what are they going to look like?
I want to get his thoughts. Now, Clarkston made some off-season moves. They did add a transfer from Holly, and they added and Jake Honstetter. Of course, we know about their two linemen, Rocco Splinter and Garrett Dillinger. I want to get your thoughts on the defending state champions.
They are going to go up face to face, nose to nose, and knock you on your butt. Dillinger and Spindler are only sophomores.
Yeah.
They're going to be around for a long time. They're big, they're physical, and the only thing that is going to stop Clarkston is their rebuild at skilled positions.
Yep.
Trying to find a quarterback.
That'll be Jake Jensen this year.
Right, it'll be Jake. And Kurt Richardson, he's done it before with less.
Yes.
So, yeah, Clarkston's going to be in the mix. West Bloomfield's going to be in the mix. And what it does, it takes a program like Lake Orion, and they're going to have to scratch and claw and fight for everything they get this season.
Yeah.
Simply because what they're going up against is going to be so good.
I want to talk to you about Lake Orion a little bit. The Dragons do have a lot of offensive players coming back. The question for them on the defensive side of the ball. Explain what, if you have seen the practices of Lake Orion, what your thoughts on the Dragons.
Well, right now, you're only in day 2.
Yeah.
They're not even
Right.
in pads yet.
No,
They're
no.
only in shells. Everybody looks good in shells and shorts. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So next week, when they put on pads and you start, they're going through the two-a-days, my big concern with the Dragons is finding a running back to replace Dylan Frank.
Mm-hmm.
They got two of them.
They have two. The problem is they used to say, if you got two, you don't have one.
Right.
Yeah.
So what they can do at the running back position, the defensive
Backfield, secondary is a concern for me.
defensive secondary is going to be huge for them because they're going up against teams like West Bloomfield.
Yeah.
They're going up against teams like Clarkston.
Yeah.
The
Southfield.
defensive secondary is going to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
Either either in pass pro or coming up to stop the runs.
Yep.
If backs get into the second level, those running backs are going to, or those defensive backs are going to be a busy bunch.
Yeah.
When you look at, I want to also talk to you about another team, of course, we had last year, and that was Southfield A&T. Now, the Warriors last year went 4-5, and it was a very disappointing season for them. They do have a ton of seniors coming back. They got 14 returning players. What is your thoughts when you look at Southfield A&T heading into the year?
Southfield A&T was the best 4-5 team you'll ever see last year.
Considering they got a lot of Division I players coming back.
They got some big guys. They have fast guys. They have guys that know how to get it done. And Southfield and they are in the same situation that Lake Orion's in. You've still got to get past Clarkson. You've still got to get past Rochester Adams. You've still got to get past West Bloomfield. And one slip up along the way in your they're all critical games, but those three teams are your critical teams.
You want to know who Southfield plays non-conference, Coach GC? Davidson and River Rouge.
Davison is not chopped liver, and neither is River Rouge.
River Rouge is very, very athletic, very talented.
Right. And Davison, we've seen them take teams to the max for years. Last year, Southfield A&T and Davison
56-54.
It was one for the ages.
Triple overtime.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Well, like you mentioned off all the red teams.
Yep.
When would we call it? Murderer's Row. I mean, it's...
Well, we didn't even mention Adams yet.
No,
I
Adams...
CC's thoughts on Adams.
Yeah, I mean, it's a murderer's row, and how do you... I mean, to navigate that week in and week out, it's just brutal. I mean, for anybody in the red, it is just... I mean, it's just amazing how tough it is, and I wasn't surprised to have two OA teams in the finals last year.
No.
I mean, based on the talent level...
well, nobody expected Clarkson last year to go into Holland and beat Holland West Ottawa.
That's true, but you weren't picking them to go out in the first round either.
No.
Because you knew they're tough.
Yeah. I want to get Coach CC's thoughts on Adams, too.
Yeah.
I fully expected, talking to last year, I thought West Bloomfield was going to go all the way. I did not expect the state final we had. And all that being said, I certainly didn't expect a 3-2 state final.
I don't think anybody
No
did.
one did.
I think there were more, that it was a bigger score in the Class A baseball final than there was
or
in
the soccer
division.
match. You're
There you go.
right. That was such an odd game.
Mm-hmm.
That was just such an odd game. You're sitting there going, is this really happening? Are they playing it too close to the vest?
That was my thoughts last year. What in the heck?
Especially for what you thought you had with those teams. You thought
Wide open.
you had offensive
firepower,
and it ended up being a defensive battle.
And you were waiting for that big play. I'll just wait for that one big play. You bust through the line.
West
Never
Bloomfield
happened.
last year, and you could tell since the Utica Eisenhower game, their offense was kind of like stuttering a little bit. Now, they were playing Detroit Cass Tech and then Clarkson State Final. But, you could tell like their offense was kind of going down a little bit.
Peaked a little early,
maybe.
Sammy, you asked about Rochester Adams.
Yes.
And one thing since Coach Petrito has been there is there have not been a lot of off years at Adams. He's always got his teams ready. You know what you're going to get. Talk about a ground and pound.
The veer option, triple option.
Coach Petrito's going to give it to you.
Yep.
Game in, game out.
Of course, we saw Carter Ferris last year. What he did to Lake Orion was just insane.
Yeah.
And, he's one of those players every now and then you see a player come along and you just say, I just hope this kid doesn't graduate. Because you want
it's fun.
Yeah. It's fun to watch them.
It is.
Sure. And you see them, both on Lake Orion's teams. We've seen players at Lake Orion. You thought, my goodness, does this kid really have to graduate?
Yeah.
And then you see players on other teams. And yes, they come in with the hype. Some of them make their own hype. And Carter Ferris is one of those guys. He makes his own hype. Nobody's got to, come out and say, hey, this kid is good. He's going to come out and tell you, I'm good.
Yeah.
He is legit. He is legit. We're gonna take a break here. I want to get Coach CC's on the next segment. We'll get his thoughts on the white and also on the blue too on Oaa Now.
This is Lake Orion's own, the local voice. Call ONTV and get on air 248-393-1060. Let your voice be heard. Internet radio for all. Call ONTV and get on air.
Music, weather, sports, and you. Me? Yes, you. You're listening to The Local Voice.
Welcome back to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Termina with Ian Locke here.
Hey, hey.
And we got a special guest, the voice of the Dragons. I'm Coach Doug Corliss here.
Yeah, thanks, Doug, for sliding in here. And
Glad
winner,
to be dropping in.
yeah, and winner of the Golden Mike Award at ONTV.
Yes, he
for
is.
all of his years of service, calling games for us. We are in our 9th year together doing Dragon football. Can you believe that?
It seems like it was only yesterday.
I do want to
I'm
get
waiting for Karen Carpenter to start singing.
I do want to get your
It's only
thoughts
just
though
begun.
on the other divisions. Of course, we
Yeah.
did talk about the red. Even though we apologized to West Bloomfield, we did get West Bloomfield's thoughts on there too.
Yeah.
on the red part, but I want to talk about the other two divisions, the white division and the blue division.
Okay.
I want to start off with the white. Of course, this is John Harrington's last year at
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
And I want to get your thoughts on Harrington, on the whole Harrison situation going on.
I've known Coach Harrington for a number of years, a lot of years, more than probably he or I want to admit. And one thing you get with John Harrington is you get the same thing year in, year out. He's even keel. There is never an excuse made by John Harrington.
Mhm.
If he loses a game, we didn't play well enough. If the breaks go against him, that's football.
Yeah.
And high school football will be a little poorer for not having John Harrington in it next year. He's done 13 state titles, say a lot.
Yeah, that's just a
Says
lot.
Something, yeah.
I saw
That's crazy.
I saw a picture of his ring case.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And he'll be missed. Now, whether John will retire or whether he will go to another school in an advisory capacity, I don't even think Coach Harrington knows.
No.
But you can be sure of one thing, that Farmington Hills Harrison team, the last go around, they are going to be geeked.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
They're
gonna
going to
be-
be ready to play every week, and they're going to leave it all out on the
Yep.
field. And the players know this too. They
Yep.
know that, and believe me, Coach Harrington is not going to be the one to say, win one for the Gipper.
No.
But the kids know we're
Yep.
going to win this one for Coach.
And when you look at that motivation, there's one concern I have with Harrison this year, and it's depth. They don't have they only have about 48 kids on that team.
Wow.
They
They've-
might not have a JV team.
They have been decimated by the kids that transferred out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Knowing the school was going to close. And again, all that being said, you look at who is on their roster. Hey, they got some athletes there.
Roderick Hurd going to Northwestern next year. On the quarterback's the question, though. I mean, when as mentioned, they've got 3 players that can compete for that spot. But the thought of Roderick Hurd possibly playing quarterback, that's an interesting one.
He's a big kid.
Yes.
And yeah, he's had the ink throughout his
Mhm.
career. But it's like everything else they run through Harrison. They're going to run athletes through Harrison. You put an athlete at a position, he'll play.
Yeah.
And Rod Hurd is one of those guys. You could put him selling tickets in the stands, and he'd do a
They do a great job. Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts also on Oak Park. Of course, this is Oak Park. A lot of people are high on especially this is a team that people projecting to go to the state final this year, can make a run, but they have not gotten past the regional in their only 2 attempts. Last year when they lost to Warren D. South, and then 2012 when they lost to Wyandotte Roosevelt. Talk about what your thoughts are on the Knights.
We're in what?
The white.
Year 3 or 4 of the Greg Carter era there.
This is actually year number I think 7.
Is it
I think,
that
yeah,
long?
Yeah, it's been that
Like
long.
you said, time's been flying.
Yeah.
Doug.
Fine.
Greg Carter knows how to coach a football team. Greg Carter knows how to get the most out of the players he has, and give him a class of athletes like he's got this year. Oak Park is going to be a force to be reckoned with, not only in the white, but in the state rankings as well.
When you look at Oak Park, though, they do have a tough schedule. They open Utica Eisenhower. They're week 8, week 9. They play West Bloomfield and Clarkston.
Ooh, that's a tough one too.
It is.
But when you look at Coach Greg Carter and his mantra, he always loves to play tough.
We talked about West Bloomfield and Clarkston just a
Yes.
couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oak Park can be a spoiler for either one of those teams. Either one of those teams or both of them slip up
Mm-hmm.
in the red.
Oak Park's in the white, though.
Yeah,
But still.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you have somebody else like Adams sneaking up to take the red championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only Oak Park, is going to be the spoiler. The teams in the red have got to be on their toes every single week. You don't take a week off in the OAA.
No. And that's true. You can't take a week off in this league. You really can't. You look at the other teams in the white. You look at Groves. Of course, Groves, they got a lot back, especially on their defense. But a really interesting thing that Coach Brendan Flaherty said, and it'll be on the interview.
Yep.
At Groves.
For Groves. Okay.
And he said this during their loss, they felt flat-footed a little bit when they lost to Birmingham Brother Rice. They called it flatlined. But here's a little quote from Brendan Flaherty on his team.
And this is from Media Day from last Friday.
Yep.
Let's see if this works.
I appreciate it. I got the coach of Birmingham Groves, Brandon Flaherty here. Of course, last year was a very successful year, and this year you got a lot coming back. So talk about the expectations of the Falcons.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. So, yeah, we got a lot of guys returning on defense. I thought last year we had great success early. We carried on through the playoffs, but I think, as a coach, I don't think I really prepared them well for the playoffs. I think we kind of streamlined. We had a big win, upset one against Harrison. And after that, I'm not sure we improved and took the necessary steps to make a run in the playoffs. I think we kind of flatlined middle of the year. And, that hurt us against Bryce there in the playoffs.
Talk about what were your...
You think it's a coach taking one for the team?
I think that is. I mean, Coach DC, you've been a coach at Lake Orion. What was your take on that?
Coach Flaherty isn't chopped liver.
No.
He's been around. The problem that I've seen with Groves over the years, and I'm not familiar with what they're returning and what they're putting out there this year, but somewhere at least once in the middle, sometime during the season, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. Mental mistakes, call it whatever you will, but that's what Coach Flaherty's got to work on with his squad. It's not only going to be this year, but it's been in years past. Sometime during the year, Groves ends up shooting themselves in the foot.
And when you look at Groves has got a lot of talent. They've been very successful the last 3-4 years. I mean, they've got a ton of talent. I mean, they do have a very tough schedule open up. They got to play West Bloomfield, and then they got to play Oak Park. I mean, that's not going to be an easy game for Groves those first 2 weeks.
No, and I'm just looking at your little cheat sheet here, Sammy, and it says I'm assuming this came from Coach Flaherty, that the weakness of the team is coaching inexperience. Well, that doesn't
That's not
that,
true.
that doesn't come at the top. So
No.
he's either had some big turnover in the assistant coach ranks. And yeah, when that happens, it takes a year or two for everyone to get up to speed and
Okay.
and to use the analogy. You saw it at Lake Orion.
Yes, and that almost, I mean, that is echoed in the interview we just
Yeah.
ran there. He said that. I think that might be cover.
It
You
might
know,
be.
hey, I'll stand up. I'll just.
Yeah.
I think
why
that might be.
say, oh yeah, we've got weakness at linebacker, or so the kids don't start worrying, going, oh geez, we're weak. Coach stepping up and saying, hey, it's on the staff.
That
let's
might be.
let's get going.
And then there's another team I like to, a couple more teams I like to talk to you about in the white. Stony Creek's got a whole new staff. New coach in Nick Merlo. Of course, we know his dad when he was at Rochester. He brought in a new theme called Armor Up this year. Very interesting. However, when they had Bob Lancey there, it was kind of a struggle for them.
It was, and they were an indication that you can print up all the T-shirts you want that have the motto for the year, but with a new staff coming in, they've got to make sure that however many players they have, 60, 70, however many, they're buying into this from day one. You get any dissenters, anyone who says, well, this isn't the way we did it last year, they're going to hurt your program. So, Coach Merlo's got to come in and get all those kids on the same page from the day they hit the practice field and keep them there.
Yeah.
Their schedule, they open up with the Utica Ford, and we know the emotions that Utica Ford has been going through. And then they still got to play Groves, they got to play Oak Park, they got to play Harrison, they got to play Oxford, then they got to play your two city rivals, Rochester and Adams, to close out the year, and then an improved Troy Athens team.
You just said it.
That's brutal.
Groves, Oak Park, Harrison,
Oxford,
and Adams. They finish at Adams. That's 4 critical games for them right there. And personally, I'm looking for an off year from Stony Creek this year.
Yeah.
Simply to get the wheels turning.
Mm-hmm.
Give Coach Merlo a year under his belt, and you'll start seeing some turnaround at Stony Creek.
Let's talk about Rochester a little bit too. This is a team that Rochester's been a team that defensively have not been good, but they added 3 transfers.
Okay.
They added in Cam Lamdrit from Walled Lake Northern, Nicholas Grabke from Troy Athens, and then Peyton Youngblood from Stony Creek. Do you think these transfers can help Rochester?
They can't hurt them.
No.
Rochester, I mean, I like Coach Vernon. He's been there a long time. But I don't think that they've gotten the best out of their talent. There's some great athletes over in Rochester. And it's a matter of tapping that talent. They've got beautiful facilities over there now.
Mm-hmm.
They have taken care of that football team the way that, in years previous, you couldn't imagine. I mean, I remember going there years ago, and we'd get off the bus, and Coach Mark Merlo would still be out there maybe an hour and a half before kickoff, and he's out lining the field.
Man.
And now,
I mean, now, if you haven't, Sammy, have you been by? I mean, they held the track regionals there.
Yeah,
and that was
there.
my first exposure to the new facility. And I'm
it's
like,
nice.
This is better than some D3 colleges.
It is. And one of the best things is they feed you in the press box. So
They do.
As a longtime frequenter of press boxes,
yes,
They do. I also want to get your thoughts on the Troy schools, both Troy and Troy Athens. Now, Troy last year made the playoffs at 6-3. I didn't think they deserved to get in that year because of the teams that they had to beat to get in. Talk about Chris Frazier's team at Troy. I mean, what your thoughts are before we talk about their arch rival, Troy Athens.
Troy is right where they should be. And I had a conversation years ago with Coach Griffith at Troy.
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the demographics of the school changing. They didn't get the big bulking football players,
No.
the Ottman brothers, all these guys that would put on those big shoulder pads and run right over you. The demographics changed, and they were getting, for lack of a better term, smaller kids. Not that they weren't being coached any different,
Mm-hmm.
but they were just up against better competition, where in years past, Troy was the better competition. And the best thing that could have happened to the Troy football program for a while is to drop them down into the blue division,
White.
the
They're in
white
Blue, white,
division,
yeah.
excuse me.
And then I want to get your thoughts on Athens. Billy Keenis is now there. I'm taking over for Josh Hepner. Troy Athens is 14-42 since 2011.
Oof.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Troy Athens has the unfortunate task of being in the same division with Clarkston, with
Lake Orion,
Lake Orion,
West
with
Bloomfield.
what? Yeah, exactly. And so they are going to have as tough of a row as anybody could have. They are going to, and it's the same thing that they've got to get the athletes to. They've had them. The coaching change will be good for them. Billy Keenist has been around for a while coaching at
He
the
coached-
assistant level. Yeah,
Yep, he coached 1 year at Berkeley last year.
sure. And Troy Athens can make it. I'm not as familiar with their roster and, who they've got. But again, looking at
Schedule is difficult for them. When you look at it,
sure, exactly.
they got to go to Seaholm. They got to go to Harrison.
Yep.
They got to go to Lake Orion. They got to host Oak Park, host Groves. I mean, they got to go to Troy, and then they got to go to Oxford. That's difficult.
Oxford's going to be an interesting. That's going to be a fun game to go to because you got Billy Keenist, who went to Oxford,
And then you have
Coming
Bud
back-
Riley
coming
against
back
Bud
and,
Riley.
and playing against his old head coach. That's going to
Well,
be
he did that last year. He did it last year when he was at Berkeley. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting to see what happens there.
And that's near the end of the season. Is that the final
Last game of the year.
Nice.
And then of course, let's take a break and then let's talk
Okay.
about the blue a little bit.
Okay,
here
we
on
can do
Oaa
that.
Now.
Yep.
Please remember that CFL bulbs, those curly, energy-efficient light bulbs everybody is using to save electricity, shouldn't be thrown away in your trash. Neither should batteries or home medical sharps. You can check with your local community to see where they can be recycled. Some retailers will allow you to bring them in for recycling. You can also order simple kits online that allow you to collect your recyclables and simply mail them away to be properly recycled. This green tip was brought to you by your friends at Waste Management.
This is Lake Orion's own, the local voice. Call ONTV and get on air 248-393-1060. Let your voice be heard. Internet radio for all. Call ONTV and get on air.
Welcome back to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Turnian with Ian Locke.
Hey.
And our guest today, Coach Doug Corliss, the voice of the Lake Orion Dragons.
Yes. Welcome,
Um,
Doug. Hey, we kind of
hey.
snagged him out of the office. You were here for other business.
I was actually here to talk to you. you were previously engaged. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the blue a little bit. And a team that you said before we were on break you want to talk about was the Ferndale Eagles.
Yeah, Ferndale is intriguing
Mm-hmm.
because like some of the other schools we talked about, they've got athletes at Ferndale.
Well, they remember they had the co-op program. They merged with Ferndale University.
Yeah. And these guys, I don't know. And again, whether it comes down to conditioning, whether it comes down to attitude, whether it comes down to coaching, I don't know. But with the horses that they can put out at Ferndale High School, they ought to be able to at least contend for a division championship.
They're one of the favorites this year. Ferndale, I mean, The only issue they got to address is the quarterback situation. Of course, Keyshawn Smith graduated. So it'll be very interesting to see what Ferndale has. Now, another team that they're trying to catch is Avondale. Avondale's a team that made the playoffs last year under Coach Ed Couturier. Lost a wild and crazy match with the Brad Zuby and his Ortonville branded team last year. He got a lot back. What are your thoughts on the Yellow Jackets?
Well, again, I'm looking at your cheat sheet here, and you look at who they have in their offense and defense, their leading returners. And what do you see? You see offensive, defensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
You see tight ends. You see quarterbacks, tight ends. Key underclassmen. You see offensive, defensive linemen.
They do got a lot of speed and a lot of athletes, though.
Yeah. And if they can protect those guys, protect the quarterback long enough so they can, he's got time to hand the ball off, they can open some holes, they're going to be a good football team.
I mean, isn't it a luxury to have an experienced offense and defensive line?
It
I mean,
is.
it's such a luxury to have, especially if they gel early and they're playing together for a long period of time. I mean, you can't put a price on that sometimes.
You can do all the practicing against pylons that you want.
Yes.
A pylon is never going to make a tackle at the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you get in there, and you can do all the inter squad stuff you want. It's when you get in there and you start hitting someone that's dressed different than you are.
And the other teams I do want to talk to you too. Besides, there's a team I'm really intrigued on. Berkeley, of course, they got a new coach in Sean Shields. Of course, he was the JV coach under Chris Sequoia, and last year was at Madison Heights Bishop Foley. Berkeley last year was in the white, but then they got shattered, went down. They're down in the blue. Them along with Seaholm. Talk about what your thoughts on Berkeley.
The Berkeley Bears, it
Yep.
says right here, their problem is depth.
Yep, lack of numbers.
Yeah, exactly. They're 1 or 2 injuries away from having just a disastrous season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the big thing that they're going to have to do is keep everybody healthy.
That is the key. I agree with you there. And then I want to also talk to you about Seaholm. Now, we did cover the Seaholm game last year, and Seaholm last year went 1-8. So I want to get your thoughts on what you saw with Seaholm. What do you think of their outlook this year?
Well, in a way, I feel very bad for Seaholm, because I remember the glory days when the former Lake Orion coach Doug Frazier was there, and he had Seaholm at the top of the league, if not winning league championships every year. And to see a program fall and stay fallen, and they have the same problem that Berkeley does, depth.
Yep.
And you're going to see that as an issue with a lot of schools this year, because from what I've read so far this year, numbers are down.
It is.
On
Across
a
the
lot
board?
of
Across the board.
Yes.
Mm.
Clarkston said their
55
numbers
players.
are down. Yeah.
Lake Orion, I think, got 68, I believe.
Yeah. And this is coming from a
Really?
school that used to trot out 90
some. Yeah.
90 year after year after year. Blame it on what you will. You can blame it on the issues of possible concussions. You can blame it on specialization.
Well,
The
enrollment
kids-
numbers
Enrollment
too.
numbers.
enrollment
I mean,
numbers.
they're down
Yeah.
almost
Numbers are
100
down,
down,
yeah.
100 per class now.
Yeah. And so are they getting the big kids in? The big kids are going to play football.
Mm-hmm.
The fast kids are going to play football. Mike Berry, the old Lake Orion coach, used to say it at the year-end banquet every year. He would say, look, if you're an offensive or defensive lineman, I want you to wrestle in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a skilled position player, wide receiver, running back, run track.
Yeah.
And to come in and have the lack of numbers,
It's going to hurt you.
well, it will, because injuries are part of the game. But all that being said, Sammy, we saw it for years that we'd carry 90 guys on a roster.
Yes.
How many guys would play on any given week?
Probably around 20, 30.
Yeah.
kids.
If you got into a close game, the
Yeah.
end of the bench wasn't going to play.
No.
You know, when you were 42-3 and you're midway through the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
everybody plays.
Right place.
You know, and it's one of the things that the coaches have always made a point of, to tell the parents at the start of the year, hey, this isn't pay to play like you think it is.
No.
It's pay to
Pay
participate.
to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And believe me, if you're a kid at Lake Orion High School, you want to play football, you pay to participate, and chances are you will get to play a lot.
But you got to earn it.
You're only as good as the whole team is.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of close games, you're going to stay with the 22 that get you there.
Mm-hmm. But you got to earn it. You got to earn it.
And that goes across all teams.
Right.
I mean,
all
for
these
the,
teams.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All these teams.
You know, it's not a unique thing here to Lake Orion. We've seen it. And when you go to
And
the depth, if
everywhere
you only
else.
have
and everywhere else.
40-some kids, I mean, my word, you're like you said, or 30-some kids. I mean,
You know what's kind of hard is
that's
if
amazing
you
to
are,
see that number.
If you are
Yeah.
having a lack of depth and then having to go through a coaching transition.
Oh,
And-
exactly.
well, that
you know,
can
This
hold you
goes to
back,
my
stunt
this
you
goes
even
to
more.
my next point. This goes to my next team. Last year North Farmington, under Coach Bob Chiesa, had a really rough year, really tough transition year. They were 0-9 under then at Coach Todd Schultz, who focused becoming the athletic director. Chiesa last year went 2-7. He admitted to me that they played 18 sophomores and 18 juniors. That's hard.
Yeah, but
And-
looking at this year, now you're playing 18 juniors and 18 seniors who have game experience.
And Chiesa's going to be moving to the triple option offense this year. That's very interesting.
We have seen it before where if you've got a team that is really young, they're going to struggle the first year.
Mhm.
They get better the second year. And you come up with numbers like that, 18 in your junior class, 18 in your senior class, you've got leadership and you've got experience.
Yes, that helps a lot. Let's talk about North Farmington's rival Farmington now. Very interesting. Now, they lost a very good player in Donovan King last year. Now he's back. But the quarterback spot's a question for me. I mean, and I had an interview with Corey Soroch explaining the quarterback situation, and I want to get your thoughts on the QB situation. Here's Corey Soroch at the podium. Coach here, of course.
You want podium or interview?
Oh, interview.
Okay.
Guys, a year ago, a lot of injuries. Of course, the big one was to Donovan King. How's Donovan King's health this year?
Donovan's back. He's fully cleared. He's been doing a really good job this summer, and we're excited to have him back.
Talk about your quarterback situation, how that's unfolding.
We got a handful of kids that are juniors this year competing for the job. We haven't really named one yet, but we're working, and by the time a camp starts, we're either going to have one kid or two or three, whatever's good for our team. We're going to figure it out as we move forward. So.
So your thoughts on that? I know we're running a little low on time.
We got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
What's going to be crucial for them is the running back position, because
You got runners.
they got runners. So really what your quarterback becomes is a game manager.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it. We brought up Oxford earlier. We saw it with Oxford's quarterbacks.
Yep.
They're not being told, son, go out and win the game, but son, manage the game. Give it to the guys that can gain yards.
Yeah.
And if we need you to throw it, we'll tell you to throw it. So yeah, as long as they can run the ball,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they'll put points on the board. All that being said, the key is going to be not to give up more
big
points
play.
than what you're scoring.
Other teams to mention, of course, Pontiac, Hazel Park. Do you have any thoughts on those two?
Pontiac, every time I talk about Pontiac, I feel sorry for them because Pontiac has, you know, we talked about schools having the athletes. Pontiac has the athletes, but their coaching turnover has just been so
4-49 since
abysmal.
2011.
Yeah. And if they could get someone to come in and at least commit to a 5-year program and take those kids from day one and coach them and follow them up with weight room training, classroom training.
Yeah.
You know, but the problem that I've seen is that you get a coach comes in for 1 or 2 years, goes 0-9, 1-8, gets
Yep.
discouraged and moves on.
Yep.
And I'm looking for the next great Pontiac coach.
Could it be Charles Talley? That's the question.
Charles Talley. Yeah, he's
be?
got the pedigree.
Yep.
You know, back in the days, and I was talking with the former Pontiac Northern coach John Brown not long ago, and that was his exact thing, is to get someone in that's from the pedigree,
Yeah.
that can work on rebuilding that program.
I think they will do that. Hazel Park, of course, we know they're going to be leaving for the MAC next year. They only got 4 returning guys. You think it could be a rough year for them?
It's going to be a very rough year for Hazel Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Enough
be-
Three
said.
returning
Enough said.
guys. I mean,
Enough said.
Enough
Sammy.
said. Yeah.
Man. I'd like to thank Coach Corliss for coming in this week.
yeah,
to
you
be-
got to watch out when you walk through the doors of ONTV. You
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen.
Hey, glad to be part of this. This is a lot of fun.
This is. I also like to thank. I'd like to wish everybody the best of luck during the season. Of course, on the other sports, you can keep an eye on the blog at SammySemicolon@blogspot.com. And also watch out for the preview shows, because we're
Yep.
going to be going off air for the first 3 weeks talking about the teams in the division.
Yep,
So
this week, later this week,
later this
they'll be
week.
in production, and
Yep.
then we'll hang on to them just before the start of this, the first game of the season.
So we'll see what happens there. Wish everybody the best of luck in their fall sports this week.
It starts.
It's starting
tomorrow,
now.
right?
Tomorrow.
Today, tomorrow. Oh my!
Yep. For Coach Corliss, for Ian Locke, I am Sammy Tamina, signing off.
Thanks, Sam. Oaa Now is produced by Sammy Taramina. Thoughts on this show are his and his alone. If you'd like to make your own podcast, call ONTV at 248-393-1060. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned for that OA preview show. Football coming up soon. Red, white, and blue divisions by Sammy in the studio. Keep it on your radar, please. We'll see you next week. See ya.